Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is a Thursday. Traffic's always bad on a Thursday.
Oh.
I know when it's you could tell me or not tell me what day of the week it is. I would know by the traffic. It's always bad. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm sure John Shannon wants to hear about that. Today's guest, including John, brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Connor Bedard makes one more visit to the LEC for the CHL Top Prospects game January 25th. The only way into the sold-out game, purchasing the Top Prospects pack starts at $99. It includes the Top Prospects contest as well as 3 other Giants games. These packages can only be purchased by calling 604-4GIANTS. That's 604-444-2687. As we bring in, as we often do on a Thursday, NHL Analyst, co-host of the Bob McCown podcast, John Shannon. How are you, sir?
The Portman Bridge, stop and go to slow.
Say that again?
Say that again?
The Portman Bridge is stop and go to slow.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Especially on a Thursday.
Isn't it always?
Yeah. It's better now. It's better. The new and improved Portman Bridge.
Yeah. By the way,
except when there's an ice storm.
To answer Ryan's question of why the Ranger game wouldn't be on that list of 10, there's probably a good chance the Rangers would not want to carry 2 sets of sweaters. Remember, they're on a road trip.
Yes.
All the teams would have to have a discussion with the Canucks saying, "Will you wear white on those nights?" Mm-hmm. You know, and so the Rangers probably would be in a situation of not wanting to carry 2 sets of sweaters. Probably, I don't know. I'm just
no. It's a very
There's
good.
Some logic. There has to be some logic to it.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Although you see in the NBA, where the NBA it's more of a frenzy where you can wear your dark jerseys as long as they aren't the exact same color as the other teams. Yeah. Lightning over the Canucks 5-2. Steven Stamkos gets his 500th career goal. Is it possible, John, that he's underrated?
That's an interesting question. I think when you look at what he's done since he was the first overall pick, there was a time there was a lot more hype around Stamkos. A lot more. This guy's the budding superstar. He's going to be the next great one. You know, there was a time when it was Stamkos and Tavares where they were going to inherit that mantle. Neither has done it to that point. But then when on top of it, you look at what Steven has gone through with injuries, whether it was the blood disorder, whether it was the terrible broken leg in Boston.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he's come back from those devastating injuries and done what he's done and become the leader that he has become, I'm not sure he is overrated. He doesn't play in a big market, guys.
Yeah.
He plays for a very good team, but doesn't play in a big market. And I would tell you, I think there's a bigger, and because he's a Toronto boy, I think in Eastern Canada, you hear a lot more about Stamkos than you would say out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, no, fair point. John, just want to get your opinion on Rick Tocchet as a head coach, because it seems like it's all but a done deal that he's coming to Vancouver.
Certainly sounds like it.
Yeah.
You know, even listening to Rick on TNT last night, the clip that you guys played, he doesn't want to talk about it. And I'm sure he's been telling the network what his plans are. So that would play into a bit of what's gone on. I think that, you know, when you look at the directness of and success that guys like Pete DeBoer, Rick Bowness, Jim Montgomery, Bruce Cassidy have had this year, I put him in that stead. He's going to be direct. He's going to understand what needs to be. And I think it's important, like we saw in Montreal with Martin St. Louis, I think it's important at a certain point, and listen, Bruce is a dear friend of mine. I don't want to see Bruce lose his job, period. I don't want to see him lose his job. But if they are to make a change and make a change to the roster, as Jimmy said they were going to on Monday, it's important that Tocchet gets a voice. And so it's important that Tocchet stands behind the bench and says, okay, I like this guy, I don't like that guy. I don't like this guy's attitude, I like that guy's attitude. And then that means it has to happen sooner than later.
John, Jim Rutherford's presser this week, one of the most talked about pressers, I think, right around the National Hockey League. He opened up about everything. He answered questions for a long time. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I think, it's funny because I got some heat from some people inside the Canucks last week when I said it was a steep learning curve for Jimmy in Vancouver. And I wasn't talking about his managerial skills. I was talking about dealing with the pressure of a Canadian team and the media and the fans. And I think that in many ways, what he tried to do on Monday was to try to mend some fences, to say, I am available. I am here. I'm trying to be transparent. When he turned to the PR department and said, no, these guys have lots of questions. I'm here to answer those questions. That was an important point for me. And I think that was an important point. You may not like the message. You may not like it. You may not like the way he delivered it. But I think you have to be respectful to the fact that he sat there and took the questions repeatedly, hard questions, fair questions, and dealt with it. There's a lot more work to be done, but perhaps this was a starting point of trying to mend some rather fragile fences between the team and the fans and the team and the media.
John, what do you think Ivan Provorov's future in Philadelphia looks like? He has 2 years left in his contract, $675 per, and we know what happened a couple of nights ago during warmups.
Yeah, they've been trying to trade him anyway. Yeah, and I think that's pretty evident. To me, the question becomes not from a hockey perspective, from a corporate perspective. Comcast owns the Philadelphia Flyers. Comcast is a big company. Comcast promotes diversity. Similar to what we saw with the Toronto Blue Jays a few years back with their relief pitcher, Azuna. It was a corporate decision to say, we don't want this player representing our company. The question for me is, will that order come from Comcast or not? And will this end up being a hockey decision rather than a corporate decision? And the other question is, did his value go down now because he's such a hot topic?
Yeah.
Because, how many teams who have promoted diversity in so many different levels, not in the LGBTQ area as well, but the indigenous area, like the Canucks have done a magnificent job. Would a team's interest in a player like that change after what we saw in Philadelphia on Pride Night?
One more, John, if you don't mind. We haven't talked about this a lot because so much is going on in this market and around the sports world. But Jim Robson turned 88 earlier this week on the 17th. What made him special, John? I know you know him well.
Gosh, you just gave me tingles, Donnie. But he was my voice of hockey. He was my transistor radio at CKWX, CK&W. Yep. And he meant the world to me as a person. I've never met a more sincere person in my life. As great a broadcaster as he was, and he was a great broadcaster. He could build drama. He could tell stories. He was such a great person and is such a great person. And I truly am honored to call him a friend. Yeah. Fantastic. By the way, can I just tell one quick story? I know absolutely. I was the one who said we have to go. Yeah. So I was running Hockey Night in Canada, and I had a coach working for me at that time, and his name was Mark Crawford. I'd hired Mark to work as a commentator, and we had a clause in his contract to say if he got a head coaching job, we would relieve him from his Hockey Night duties. But there were 2 points in the contract. The first one was, we needed 48 hours notice. We wanted the scoop. We had to break the news.
Right.
And the second one was, when the team got eliminated from the playoffs or didn't make the playoffs, he was coming back to work for us for one following playoff year. And so he got hired All-Star Weekend. We were in Tampa, in fact, All-Star Weekend in '99. And Mark was in Tampa, not working for us, but he was in the hotel signing a deal with Brian Burke to be the new coach of the Vancouver Canucks. But we got the scoop. They flew back to Vancouver. And during the second period of the All-Star game, we ended up doing a phone call with Mark Crawford saying, I'm signing with the Vancouver Canucks as the new coach and leaving Hockey Night in Canada. So I'm wondering if TNT's put that in Rick Tocchet's contract as well, because they certainly didn't do it last night.
Well, clearly you're telling people that they should watch TNT from now until the hiring is made, because that's where you'll get the scoop. You're supposed to get it here with Dollywall, but we'll see.
Well, hey, Rick has done. Listen, everything I see tweeted out from those guys in the East, Rick has done 2 days earlier, anyways.
Hey, John,
paid a lot.
we got a text here. A little known fact: John Shannon was a high school basketball referee in Oliver, BC. Source: my wife, Sergeant Spandex. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. In fact, in my first year at university at UBC, I earned my meal money during the season. I ended up refereeing high school basketball all through the Lower Mainland, and did CIAU basketball at War Memorial for the Lady Thunderbirds.
And that's why you got into broadcasting, because you probably got booed and had tomatoes thrown at you and all of that, right?
And that was just at home.
Thanks, John. I know you got to go.
Cheers, boys.
Great storyteller. John Shannon, NHL analyst, co-host of the Bob McCown podcast.